Hello everybody, time again for the movie retrospective, doing kind of a newer film this time around from 2014. It is Dracula Untold. Yeah,
this one was sent to us by a subscriber.
And a patron.
And a personal friend. We put out the offer that if somebody were to send us kind of like a factory copy of the DVD or Blu-ray of any movie, that we'll review it.
Yeah, and we will eventually get around to reviewing the other one she sent.
So this one was sent by Sophie. Thanks, Sophie.
Yes.
She sent us two. We're going to do another one, too. We're going to do...
yeah, but we're not telling you what it is.
Yeah, okay. We'll do that.
That'll probably be in a couple of weeks.
Right.
But yeah, so, because, like I said, I do like to do new ones sometimes, but I mostly like to do old ones, so I'm going to,
Yeah, and if it's not in our collection, you want us to review it, just contact us on Facebook. We'll give you an address. You can send us a copy. Factory copy only. We don't do the burned shit. Got to be factory copy. Well, something I will put in my collection. Probably.
Well, sometimes the burned ones won't play in the Xbox.
Yeah,
we have
that's part of the problem
before. But yeah, so
if not, then you depend on our choice.
Yeah. All right. So Dracula Untold was actually, like I said, it came out in 2014. Was actually directed by Gary Shore. This was his feature film debut. Prior to this, he had only done like commercials and stuff, and I think the only film he'd done, and I'm not sure if he did it before this or after this, was if you guys have seen the horror movie called Holidays, which is either on Netflix or Shudder. I can't remember. I just saw it like a little while ago. He directed the St. Patrick's Day short.
Yeah.
So there's that whole thing. But like I said, this was his first film. Now, the idea for this movie has actually been floating around since about 2007.
Right.
Initially, it was called Dracula Year Zero, but they were always kind of conceiving it. Yeah. I was like, thank God they changed that. That is so cheesy. But originally, they're conceiving it as a Dracula origin story, which it is.
Which that's a good idea because you watch Dracula, and he does mention, his battles with the Turks, and he mentions stuff, but you never find out how he became a vampire, why he really became a vampire. They just said it was a curse. Yeah. Curse by God. But then what did he do with it?
Right.
Well, that's what this is all about. Explains how he became this vampire, and why, and what he did with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It hits a couple of the same story beats as like the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula, but obviously that was based on the novel, whereas this is pretty much straight up based on Vlad Tepes Vlad Tepes went to a cave and became a vampire and then kicked everyone's ass.
And it's done by, was it Legendary Studios or Legend Studios? The same guys that did 300.
Yeah, and they got involved in it later on.
Yeah,
but yeah.
300 was an awesome film. I liked it, but the ones that came out after it in that same style, the scripts just weren't as good. And really watching this one when that studio label came up of Legend, is it Legend or Legendary?
I think it's Legendary.
When Legendary comes, like, oh man, this is probably not gonna be good. But to my surprise, movie's fucking awesome.
I actually ended up enjoying this quite a bit. Yeah. I didn't know until afterward. It actually was pretty successful at the box office. Made over $200 million worldwide on a budget of only $70 million. So it did pretty well, and they're talking about maybe doing a sequel and stuff like that. Reviews were kind of mixed. A lot of people thought it was kind of meh, or it wasn't like as fun as it could have been, or something like that.
I don't know what they're talking about.
But yeah, some of the reviews were like, well, they're trying to do like a superhero movie, but with Dracula, and it's like, it should have been more fun than that.
This is a perfect at-home watch. Either you're streaming it or you're watching on Blu-ray on a new smart TV. You're drinking.
Yeah.
And you're watching. It's just perfect.
And honestly,
it's perfect for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can't. Not everything is going to be a masterpiece. This is just a solid flick.
But like I said,
origin story.
I'll say right here, it gave me an Underworld and Van Helsing vibe, but I liked it exponentially better than I liked those two movies. I'm gonna say.
One thing that I liked about it was the motif. It really did look like something from Wallachia, which is kind of a mixture of Europe and Turkey, really, in those days.
Visually, it was super cool. I have to say.
Yeah, what they were wearing.
Yeah, the armor and all that kind of stuff.
It looked really cool.
Really cool looking. It was actually, I think the whole thing was shot in Northern Ireland, actually. So the main guy that's in it, Luke Evans played him. He wasn't the original guy that was supposed. He was like the second one to come in. Also, the guy that plays the villain, the Sultan or whatever, that's Dominic Cooper. And like the whole time I was like, where do I know that guy from? And then like afterward I was like, oh, it's Preacher. Yeah, he's been in other stuff too, but I know him from Preacher.
But if you haven't seen this and you don't want any spoilers, now's about time to check out, because we're gonna talk more about this. It's a movie I do recommend. If you haven't seen it, buy it, get it on streaming.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, if you don't care about spoilers, then you know you can stay with us. But we're gonna start talking about spoilers.
Yeah, because we're basically just gonna
like because we can't talk about the movie without spoiling it.
Yeah, well, I've kind of gotten to the point where I think that's pretty much true of most movies.
Right. Yeah, you can't talk about it.
So we're just going to say that, like, you know, if you want to watch it and you don't want that.
One of the things I liked about this movie is that it showed how Dracula became a vampire and why and where he got it from. In the old stories, you just think that you kind of left to believe that he was so evil that God cursed him with this just out of the blue.
Now you're a vampire.
That's not how this shit happened.
No.
He was in a deadly battle for a long time, this long struggle against Turkey, you know, the Ottomans. And one day he and a group of guys stumbled across this cave, and they all got wiped out by this damn monster that was in the cave, and only Dracula survived.
Except for Vlad.
Or excuse me, only Vlad survived. Later on, he heard a story about that monster that explained it, that it was a vampire, you know, or a vampire. What do you call it? Do they call it a vampire or a vampire?
Yeah, I can't remember what
they didn't really call it a vampire.
He was from, like, ancient Rome, wasn't he?
Yeah, and...
like the Roman Empire?
They had kind of like this wild man that lived, who was kind of a... partly like a sorcerer. He was kind of remind me of Daryl from The Walking Dead a little bit, but he was like a medieval version of that.
Medieval Daryl.
Yeah, and he told Vlad that that this thing that was in the cave had rules, that it was immortal and it was real powerful, and the only way it could die was that if it gave its power to somebody else.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I kind of got the impression that the vampires in this movie were like Highlanders, like there can only be one, but maybe not, because he made vampires later on in the movie.
Well, I think he made it's just that vampire that lived in the cave was so old and so sick of it, he wanted to die.
Because he asked a demon for power. That's how he got his power, right? So he's like the OG vampire.
Right. Well, what ends up happening is that in this battle against the Ottomans, it goes bad for Vlad, and he remembers this vampire in the cave. And I'm not going to spoil every detail of it, but he remembers this vampire in the cave, and he says, you know what, I can get the power I need to win this war from that vampire.
Yeah.
So he goes in there and talks with him, and it's a cool vampire, really, you know.
Yeah, Charles Dance plays him. I think he's just called Master Vampire, like in the credits or whatever.
So they make the exchange. And Vlad comes out of there with all these fucking badass abilities, which explains a lot of the stuff that you see, like, say, in the one with Gary Oldman. What was it was like, what was that called?
Yeah, Francis Ford
Coppola. Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, I think was what the actual title of that. Because it explains a lot of stuff that you see that Dracula do. Like, for instance, he gains the power to see through the eyes of animals.
Yeah.
So he could look at you through the forest. You could be anywhere in the forest, and he could access, you know, he can access the eyes and the senses of other animals. His vision is really enhanced. If you sling a sword at him, he just pops into a big cloud of damn bats and reforms.
That was the raddest.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing.
I would love to be able to do that.
Right. So he, of course, he drinks blood and everything. He has to. But part of this deal is that he's going to have this bloodthirst, and if he can hold out for 3 days and not drink blood, was it 3 days?
It was 3 days, yeah.
Yeah, then it would subside in him.
Then he would go back to normal.
Go back to normal, but of course, you know that he can't control it for 3 days.
Because at first, in a way, like, I liked that aspect of it, because I'm like, oh, it's kind of like a test drive for vampire powers. Like, you can just have them for 3 days, and if you decide you don't like them...
Yeah.
But, I mean, the bloodlust was so bad that he was like having to force himself to keep himself away from his wife and keep himself away from his people because he wanted to eat them, like, all the time.
Well, the Master Vampire, of course, he makes a deal, but you can see he's pretty cynical about it because he couldn't resist it.
Right, so he's like, he didn't think anyone else could either.
And then it turns out you can't resist it, really.
Because Vlad was all like, oh, no problem, bro. I just need the powers for like 3 days so I can kick this army's ass so they don't take my kid or whatever. Because there was that whole thing.
Another aspect I liked about this movie is that they show what a single vampire could do out in public, fighting an entire army of tens of thousands of men. Just wade through them like they're water. Fucks them up. It was bad.
That's what. Well,
he single-handedly kills about 20,000 guys.
I liked that scene. Yeah. Well, I liked that scene because they played it serious. It's not like it's not like Vlad's walking off the castle walls going, "I got this, bro."
No, just like it looked like a feat. Out. It looked like a feat that he had to do. It looked kind of difficult.
It took a while. He couldn't just go when everyone was dead. Like he had to be in places. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And he starts making other vampires to help him.
Yeah,
that doesn't go well. But
that happened more toward the end.
Towards the end.
As it happens, yes, he has all these powers, and yes, he wipes out a whole fucking army and stuff like that. But once the Sultan figures out what his deal is, he starts to use subterfuge. He's like, okay, well, I'll put this army here and let him kick those asses, and then we're gonna sneak around behind and get into his fucking.
Turns out. Vampires have a weakness, kind of like Superman has a weakness for kryptonite. Vampires have a weakness for silver.
Yeah.
And if you throw a bunch of silver coins at a damn vampire, it can weaken him. Yeah. I'd never seen that, and that was that was a good play.
Well, I like that. As far as I know, maybe even farther back in the Middle Ages, most supernatural creatures are resistant to silver.
Resistant or vulnerable to silver?
But
both.
Vulnerable. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because, meaning you can well, it's just like the werewolf. You have to shoot him with a silver bullet type thing. Yeah. So I don't know why. I think because silver is because it's the same color as the moon.
I don't know.
Something.
Probably.
I don't know why.
Sympathetic magic.
It's like some sympathetic magic. Like the way it looked. Like it looked like
probably looked
like
a silver moon or something.
Or something like that. And that was supposed to fight the forces.
But I kind of liked it in the script that the Sultan didn't puss out. He didn't back down behind a vampire. You see, he came up with a solution.
Yeah, he's like, he's a vampire. I'll do something.
Laid a trap for him and baited him into a big old fucking pile of treasure.
I really did like that scene. Yeah. Where he's like, hey, come in my tent, I'll fight you in here, and it's like the whole floor was covered with silver. And he had a silver sword too.
Mm-hmm.
And not only Vlad could still fight, but it made him weak, and he couldn't see that good. They showed it from his point of view, and it was all kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and he was distorted. It was straight out of Superman, where Superman and Lex Luthor, and Superman's like, and they put it was like that.
It was kind of like that. Well, like I said, you have to have, whether it's a superhero movie, whether it's a horror movie with a supernatural creature, they have to have a weakness because otherwise...
Why have a movie?
It's here's this indestructible thing that's just going to kill everyone, the end. Mm-hmm. It's no one would watch that.
Yeah. But I enjoyed the movie. It looked good. The acting was good. Made me feel good watching it. You know what I mean? Like the gestalt of the visuals. It had that dark gothic kind of feel to it when they were in those castles and in the forest at night, and you got to see reality through the eyes of a vampire, and you got to see a vampire kick ass and make other vampires, and his abilities were more explained, and that was awesome. It answered the questions I had about Dracula.
Yeah,
of how he got that.
Anything you wanted to know about how Dracula originated.
Yeah, that whole thing that he willingly became a vampire to win that war. That was a fucking awesome touch.
Well, yeah, because his back was against the wall. He didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, I heard about this guy that maybe would make me a vampire.
Make me real strong for a few days.
I'm going to go and see what that's all about. Mm-hmm. That's what you would do. What else? He didn't have another choice.
Yeah, he had to make that deal because Wallachia was under attack and he didn't have an army.
Yeah.
So that means he had to do it on his own.
Or he didn't have a big enough army. And like I said, they were going to kill his kid. They were going to take a bunch of kids. His family was
involved. They wanted a tribute of a bunch of boys.
Right.
To make them into soldiers. And he said no, because it included his kid, his own son as a hostage.
Well, after he said no, then the Sultan said, now I want 1,000 and your kid.
Yeah, right.
After he said no.
And he didn't have an army to defend him, Not a real army. He had a group. He had a security force, so maybe 50, 60 guys. He needed 20,000.
Yeah.
By the size of that army that attacked him.
Man, you can turn into a cloud of bats and fly around super fast.
Yeah.
You can get rid of 20,000 guys really, really quickly.
You couldn't hide from him because the animals would see you and he could access that.
Yeah. Which is kind of like
That was hinted at.
Well, they didn't bring it up in the original novel.
But it was kind of hinted at.
But it was kind of hinted at that he could control wolves and animals and
he
he
could commune
Night
with
animals.
them. Yeah, that he could commune with them. Yeah, so they were giving him information. He could see through their eyes.
Yeah, which, like I said,
that's pretty cool.
That tracks like from the novel. Yeah. That's not crazy. And like I said, the silver thing, that's also a very common thing in folklore, particularly it wasn't just, that part of the world.
He didn't just explode into a cloud of bats when he got hit. It was also rats. Yeah. He was turning interchangeably into bats or rats. And I think he turned into a cloud, didn't he?
Yeah, he could turn into
a mist, and
which Dracula could do too. Like I said, there's nothing in the movie that's not
pretty neat.
That's not like part of the folklore or is not like hinted at from the original novel. I gotta say, like I said, a lot of the biography of Vlad the Impaler about him being raised by the Turks, like taken from his family and raised with them, and blah blah blah. They used a lot of that aspect of his biography.
Yeah.
They don't. You know, they do say that he impales dudes on spikes and shit like that.
Yeah, he was doing that as a vampire, too, in the movie. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But he does, I mean, he is very much the hero of this movie. He's very sympathetic. You know, he clearly loves his wife and his kid. Yeah. And he's trying to protect them. Right. So it doesn't make him look like a monster at all. It makes him look like... And him becoming a vampire is just, like I said, it's desperation. He's trying to protect his family.
And he was trying to hold it in check.
Yeah.
And the way it went down at the end, which I'm not even going to spoil it here, but the way that it went down in the end explains why he's kind of a depressive recluse in an abandoned castle when you meet him in Dracula.
Yeah.
Remember because of what happened to his family and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So it explains all that.
I was gonna say I did like that. I mean, should we spoil just the ending? Because
we'll go ahead. I will.
Because I was gonna say, the whole point of it, he trying to, like I said, he was trying to fight off this army, which he was doing. But then the Sultan had he knew what his powers were, so he said, "I'm just gonna sneak in. Like I'll have this smaller force, it'll sneak in behind while you're fighting those people." And he sneaks into the thing and tries to kidnap his kid. And there's like a struggle, and like his wife ends up like falling off the wall of the thing, just like in Francis Ford Coppola's one, you know, falling off, and she doesn't.
Yeah, that's right. You know that from Dracula.
Yeah,
right.
And she doesn't she kind of hits the ground, and you know she's dying, and she tells him because his 3 days are up, and she tells him, "Drink my blood and just lay waste." You know what I mean? Because she's like, "Because I'm dead anyway." So so that there's that whole like emotional thing going on too, and so now he's like a vampire forever. And he's cursed and everything like that. And after he does that, though, he turns like a bunch of his nobles or friends or whatever they are. He turns all of them into vampires too.
And they go out and kick ass.
So they just go out and kick everyone's ass and just kill everybody.
Yeah, male and female vampires out doing their thing.
But then he gets rid of them. Then he gets rid of them.
And its reason being is because his vampire horde wipes everybody out.
And they were going to eat his kid too.
The only mortal that was around was his kid, and they were going to turn on his own son, on his kid. He was doing it for his kid.
Yeah.
That's what the whole war was about. And they were going to turn on the kids like, look, he's not like us.
Yeah.
We either eat him or we turn him into a vampire.
Yeah.
Basically. And Dracula is like, or Vlad's like, nope, not having this.
He's like, I just
so he
wanted
wipes
to have
them all out.
Life.
He wipes them all out, and then he banishes the kid, banishes himself.
He sends the kid off with a monk.
Right, that's right.
That's a human, and he's just like, just take him and don't bring him back because he was trying to protect him, like I said. Yeah. So that was his whole motivation, like through the whole movie, was just like protecting his wife and kid. His wife got killed, unfortunately, but she sacrificed her life. Yeah. Which was, she was dying anyway, but she sacrificed her life so he could.
Another thing that I really liked about the movie is they didn't try to rip off 300 at all. There was none of the slow motion shots, none of the guys trying to reenact Leonidas and all that shit. It's its own movie. You could tell it has a lot of CG in it. You could tell it has a lot of that same stuff that was in 300, but it's definitely its own movie. And it feels like a gothic vampire movie. Yeah. I liked it.
Like I said, it gave me the same... It's similar to Underworld.
Yeah.
But I like it
more
a
CG.
Lot better than And I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, and I know that there's been like a lot of sequels to Underworld. I only saw the first one and maybe the second one. I don't really remember.
I actually liked Underworld. So
I liked it, but I thought it was a little try-hard.
It was a movie of its time.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I feel like it was a little try-hard. I feel
was
like
shot under a lens. Everything looked bluish, but it had its own motif.
I feel like the first Matrix was try-hard, too. in that same way. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
They were movies of their time. I'm gonna cut them both slack. They were movies of the.
But I liked this a lot better than Underworld. I have to say, Dracula Untold. I like. Yeah,
I think it is because it wasn't the way it was written is because it links right in with the Bram Stoker story.
Yeah. So plus, I liked all the actors. I liked like the way there was. Like I said, I liked the whole visual look of it. Now let's talk a little bit about whether this is part of Universal's supposed dark universe or not, because no one seems like they can quite decide.
What's that? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, remember, like, Universal wanted to start something called the Dark Universe. They were going to reboot all the original, like, Universal monster movies, Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Mummy, all of that stuff. You would think
that would be a good idea.
It did sound like a good idea, and when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of... They wanted to make it like the Marvel Extended Cinematic Universe, except with all the monsters,
and
but they would all be in the same... So it would be like...
Because the Lon Chaney Wolfman is not...
So scary, I mean, in a sense, it would kind of be like Penny Dreadful, but like updated. So they talked about doing that. Now, for a time, like Dracula Untold was supposed to be part of that. Some reshoots were done before it came out so that if they wanted to make it part of the Dark Universe later on, it would link in. Particularly the last scene that has Charles Dance, who played the Master Vampire, who was released from his curse when he made Vlad into a vampire, like, permanently. They show them, like, in the modern day, like in London or whatever. And Charles Dance, like, sees Vlad, like, in the present day and starts, like, following him. So that Master Vampire character, played by him, was supposed to be like the Samuel L. Jackson character, like Nick Fury, from the MCU. So they're, like, kind of thinking about doing that. But then, as the years went on, it seemed like, I guess when The Mummy came out, and it didn't do, I think this is the Tom Cruise one.
That was the Tom Cruise Mummy? Yeah.
And when it came out and it didn't do as well as they were hoping, I think they kind of scuttled that idea.
Well, how could that movie be considered The Mummy?
That's what I mean.
I would have never done that.
Okay, now, I'm not gonna...
The Mummy was supposed to be happening in the 30s.
Yeah.
That would have made
it should have been a period piece. I'm not gonna, like... I don't like to shit on a movie I haven't seen.
I like shitting on Tom Cruise, actually. I laugh at Tom Cruise in some way, but I like Tom Cruise.
I know you do.
I like Tom Cruise, yeah.
I'm not a fan. I've liked him in some movies, but I'm generally not a fan, but I'll watch him and everything.
I understand everything about Tom Cruise. I understand Tom Cruise. Okay. But I still like it.
He's inside the mind.
I'm inside I'm seeing the world through Tom Cruise's eyes. I can kind of relate to what he's talking about.
It's like being John Malkovich. But he's crawling into Tom Cruise's head.
I'm Tom Ross. I'm not Tom Cruise. I'm Tom Ross. I'm not Tom Cruise. But I do understand.
Tom Cruise Ross.
I do understand Tom Cruise. I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with everything Tom Cruise. But I do understand Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I understand Tom Cruise. I resonate with him. I resonate
with the totality of Tom
Cruise. I resonate with Tom Cruise. I understand it.
You were hilarious.
Yeah, I understand it.
But I'm going to say, as I was saying, I don't like to shit on a movie I haven't seen, because that's not cool. But from the trailers, I'm like, exactly what does that have to do with the Universal Mummy movie? That looked more like the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies, which were fine, but they didn't have anything to do. That was more like an Indiana Jones, like, adventure type movie with supernatural shit in it, which, those were fun. But this one, if it's supposed to be... a reboot of the universe, the dark universe with all the monsters and stuff like that, it didn't really look like that to me. No. And I think that might have been why that shit didn't go anywhere. Because look here, I love that shit. I love the Universal monster movies. I love all that shit.
That's not how you do it, though.
No, that's what I was just gonna say.
I saw that trailer and went, okay, but that's not the Mummy.
That's not the Mummy.
Right. The Mummy is a period piece.
It is, and that's how they should have done it.
Yeah, that's how it should have been.
And honestly, like I said, in theory, it's a great idea that you could, like, make all... Because there was a lot of movies in that universe, and there's a lot of shit you could do with that. But I kind of feel like they should make them not in the present day.
No, they
Dracula Untold wasn't. It was in the time of Vlad the Impaler.
They have to be in their periods.
Yeah.
They have to be period pieces.
Like, they could link them all together some other way.
And you could still modernize it. I mean, you could portray the 30s and shit that went down in the 30s in a badass way. I mean, look, they were portraying the 1500s in a badass way in this movie.
Look how fucking cool that would look.
That looked really cool, yeah.
I mean, I would love to see a mummy movie that was like the original.
Like the original.
With Boris Karloff in it.
But
like, with that look to it, but modernized.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
In color. Really ambient, real, you know, and you could expand on the mythos.
Yeah.
And still stay true to the original.
Yeah. I mean, because the original movie, I mean, I love Boris Karloff. I love the original Mummy. It is a little slow. Yeah, it is a little slow. And like I said, there's so much, you know, there's so much mythology there that you could explore.
You have to add to that
and
story.
you could really expand that story out.
And now with CG, you could show things that you just couldn't show in the 30s.
Yeah.
Especially with the ratings and the censorship that they had in the 30s, too. Actually, no, 30s wasn't as bad as it was later on.
Yeah, the Hays Code didn't come along until the 40s.
That was why that was why Black Cat was so good.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi? Fuck, that was a good movie. That was dudes sleeping with other dudes' daughters and killing the wives. That was weird. That was a weird-ass movie. Satanist generals in their palaces over World War I battlefields.
Yeah. You could get away with a lot.
If you guys have never seen The Black Cat back in the 30s, watch that shit.
Yeah.
It's a kind of like a film noir horror, satanic horror movie. They would never make anything like that in the 50s. Never.
Yeah. 50s was a little scary.
Yeah, and it's
everything was
sexy kind of 30s looking women in sheer outfits and Satanists coming over and bizarre movie.
Like I said, they got away with a lot of shit in the 30s. Yeah. Well, the fact that they got away with so much shit was the reason
why
that the Hays Code was brought in. It was
right.
like, no, we can't have all of this degeneracy going on in our movies.
And that was not a long movie. I think that was only about 40 minutes.
Movies were very short.
They were short back then.
You know what's very funny is, like, somebody said, like, when we did the matinee review of the new Tim Burton Dumbo, and I was like, well, I haven't seen the cartoon in a long time, so I don't remember. The original fucking cartoon, the Dumbo movie, was only 64 minutes.
Yeah.
They made some short-ass movies back then. And it's funny because people talk about people now having, like, ADD, and it's like, oh, they can't sit through a whole movie. It's like, shit, man, movies nowadays are, like, 3 fucking hours long.
Right.
Or people will sit there and watch Netflix for, like, 12 hours. Like, they'll watch a whole series, like, in one sitting.
Yeah.
So it's like, I really don't think we have a problem with attention span.
Yeah, okay, we got to get back to Dracula Untold. Dracula Untold. I give it 2 thumbs up. Good one.
Yeah. I liked it much, much more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to like it.
Yeah. But like I said, I thought it was going to be like Underworld, and I was like, I'm kind of meh about Underworld, but I liked it much, much better.
It pulled me into it within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, all right, yeah.
And one thing I like about it, too, is that it's, I'm not going to say, oh, I like it because it's short, but it's exactly as long as it needs to be. It's only about 95 minutes. There's no fat in it. It pretty much just goes bam, bam, bam. It's very tight. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's nothing boring. There's nothing superfluous. There's nothing like that. Apparently, there was a whole kind of little subplot with Baba Yaga.
Man, I wish they would have put that in there.
Yeah, well, it's in the deleted scenes if you want to watch that. But that whole entire thing was cut out.
A lot of people don't know what a Baba Yaga is.
Which I'm kind of bummed out about that.
Baba Yaga is a witch, and she had a house that had chicken feet on it that walked around as Baba Yaga. It's a Russian witch.
Doesn't everybody have a house with chicken feet?
Because a regular witch isn't good enough for Russia. Russia's got to have a fucked up witch. It's a house. She's got a house and it's got chicken feet. I saw that shit when I was a kid out of that Russian movie. Scared the shit out of me. Those communist movies that came out to the United States in the 70s. Remember those?
I saw it in... Well, actually, I saw it in movies. Jack Frost, which was on Mystery Science Theater.
Frost.
Which was a Russo-Finnish co-production. Yeah. And Baba Yaga was in that, played by a man.
Yeah. Which makes it even scarier.
Yeah, she was terrifying. Yeah. And she had this shack, and it had, like, these big, huge, like, chicken feet on the bottom. Yeah. And it, like, really makes me wonder... Here's the thing about mythology. This is why I'm fascinated by mythology, because you know that there's some kind of cultural reason. Why is there a witch that lives in a house with chicken feet? But because I didn't grow up in that culture...
Scared the shit out of you.
Yeah, and I'm just like, where the fuck does that idea even come from? Like, I'm sure it has, like, some kind of through line, like, people know, like...
And there were, like, 2 or 3 of these movies. One of them was sold as a Sinbad movie, but it was a damn Russian Sinbad. I don't even really understand
That was on Mystery Science Theater, too.
But I remember seeing those.
What the fuck was the name of that?
I saw them as a kid in California in the 70s.
It had the Bluebird of Happiness in it.
They were weird movies, and they were.
It had a woman's head.
Russian.
It was a bird with a woman's head.
And they were shot
freaky.
Beautifully, really. They were shot beautifully. And
they are.
And pretty much everybody in them was pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty little girls.
They're beautiful looking movies.
Really good looking people in it, you know.
They're beautiful looking movies. That's what's funny. It's like the Mystery Science Theater episode of Jack Frost is one of my all-time favorite episodes. Just because that movie, it's so crazy and it's like so pretty to look at. I could watch that without them, but with them it's much funnier.
I'd like to get a restored Blu-ray version of those old movies. They're probably weird as hell. They probably look really good.
I know. Yeah. I love that shit.
And Ray Harryhausen movies. Remember that collection of Ray Harryhausen? Got all their shit. I'd like to see it.
How much was that shit?
I think it was like $30-$40 for all of his movies.
Bad.
No, not that bad.
I love Ray Harryhausen.
On Blu-ray,
But yeah, so if you haven't seen Dracula Untold, like I said, it made a lot of money at the box office, but it got sort of so-so reviews. Some people were like, "Oh, I wish it'd been more fun," or "I wish it'd been more like a superhero," blah blah blah,
just
or whatever.
Old fucking pissy ass bitching that those they do. It's just a good movie.
But I enjoyed it quite a bit, and you know. Like I said, even if no dark universe ever emerges, which would be kind of a bummer, but like I said, I hope they do it. I hope they do it more like this and less like the Tom Cruise Mummy is, I suspect.
Yeah, I think they did that. The Tom Cruise... Man, I'm getting back and getting off a subject. I'm going off topic. Yeah, I'm feeling sorry.
Dark universe.
I'm feeling sorry for Cruise because he always does a good performance. And that was a well-made movie. It's just that was not really the Mummy.
Yeah, like I said,
the Mummy Hat was a 30s period piece, and that's how it should have been. They did it wrong.
When Howard Carter went and they like, hey, we found the tomb, and like there's all this neat stuff in there, and there's a curse and all this other kind of stuff. It was that type of stuff.
Right.
I feel like I said, they tried to make it too much like the Brendan Fraser, like Indiana Jonesy kind of adventure movie, and that's not really what that was a different thing.
It should have been a slower, more ambient movie with a lot of creep and, you know.
Didn't they make a fucking Wolfman movie with goddamn Benicio del Toro in it?
I don't know.
I'm kind of remembering seeing that in the theater. Like, I remember that being okay.
There hasn't been a good...
And wasn't there an I, Frankenstein? I didn't see that. I saw the Wolfman one, though.
There hasn't been a good werewolf, really, movie since Howling 1, if you ask me.
Have you seen Dog Soldiers?
No, I haven't seen it. Good?
You would like Dog Soldiers.
Okay, I'll check it out.
That's a British werewolf movie.
Yeah, all right.
It's not that old. It came out in the 2000s sometime.
American Werewolf in London was pretty good.
I love
that. For what it was.
Yeah, I love that movie.
For what it was, yeah.
I love that movie. But there's some, but they're not. I mean, I liked Ginger Snaps.
You didn't see it.
You haven't seen Ginger Snaps? Yeah, that was a good werewolf
This
movie
is not Dracula Untold. We're drinking and we're going on topic. We got to get Dracula Untold. It's done, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, thank you, Sophie, for sending us that. Like I said, I really liked it very much. We had a great time, like sitting around.
Sophie will probably be a guest on the show.
I'm hoping so.
Right.
She's supposed to come visit.
She's supposed to be coming visit. We're gonna take her to the club.
Yeah. Hooray! And maybe she can be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
She's
month.
sitting there listening, going,
next month.
Shit, no.
Next month on the 20th. Was that May 20th?
I don't know.
She may be coming around May 20th.
Yeah.
We'll record a show. She's going to be here for a couple days, and then she's going to go back.
Yeah, it'll be super fun.
She's visiting a friend in the area. She's going to swing by.
Yeah. But Dracula Untold from 2014. Check it out if you haven't already, and tell us what you think about it in the comments. And remember, if you like the show, like, share, subscribe on all your social media. Remember, if you'd like to support the show financially, you can go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/13o'clockpodcast, or go to our blog, 13o'clockpodcast.wordpress.com, and there's a little button in the sidebar to a PayPal account where you can give a one-time donation. Remember, these movie retrospectives, just like this one right here, come out every Friday. We have 13 o'clock matinee, 3 new movies in the theater. That comes out every Sunday, and regular episodes come out every Tuesday, so check them out if you haven't already. We will see you next time. Bye.